Hey, I'm Ty. I play guitar in the Orphan The Poet, and yeah, this is my gear. So I play a Fender Jazzmaster. It's a Mexican one. For this tour anyway, for this kind of stuff we're doing, I'm just using my Jazzmaster. It's got just the stock pickups in it. So just those P90s or whatever the stock version of those P90s are, and they're kind of they're definitely thicker. As far as strings that I use, for this particular tour, this is the first time I'm using these strings. They are, I love the, I always use D'Addario, the nickel wound, like the NY series or whatever. I love those, I've been using those for years. And then this time, I'm trying out a thicker gauge just to get a little bit of a thicker low end a little bit. So I've got like, I think 11s, but they're the kind that are designed for like drop D tuning or something like that, so the low end's a little fatter. As far as my pickups and stuff, like in the settings I'm using, I've got my tone all the way up all the time, and then usually for a good middle ground, I'm always kind of, as a rule of thumb actually, when I test my tone, no matter what guitar I'm playing, I usually put it in the middle section, so a combination of both pickups, just so I can kind of hear a bit of a mix of, like, it gives me a good sense of where each pickup will stand. I'll know, if I can trust the middle section, I know exactly how the bridge is, or how the neck is going to sound, how it's going to be thick, and how bright the bridge will be. So a lot of times I'm actually just kind of staying on, especially for our set now, I'm usually the only guitarist playing now, so I'm filling up a lot of our sound, so I'm on that thicker middle pickup there. So in my chain I've got here my chord pitch black. That's where all the tone comes from. Then into this Ernie Ball VP Jr., and then into this DoD overdrive preamp, which I actually used to run a Distortion Plus, and I sold it and I was looking for another one, and a guy basically told me, yo, this is the exact same circuit, exact same pedal, only it's made by Digitech, I think, so you're just paying less money because it's a different name. And I love this thing. It's got like a really fat, like, when I want something thicker sounding, that's what I go to. And then this is my other overdrive that I'm using a lot more. It's the JHS Morning Glory. I love that thing. From there into, I believe next into the Super Chorus. I freaking love that thing. Been messing around with getting super weird stuff the last few years, and that is one I love. Yeah, and then this guy, this is my Exotic Effects EP booster that I've got on actually all the time, and I love working. This thing works just it works together with my amp very well. As far as keeping it, like, I can play lighter and it'll be pretty dynamic, and then if I just strum harder, it gets this natural crunch. I love this thing. Straight from there it goes into, I believe it goes into this Boss DD500. I swear by this thing. This thing is on par with Strymon. I don't care what anybody says. I'm all about getting, like, bang for your buck. As far as, like, trying to prove that you don't have to spend a ton of money to get some kick-ass tones. This Boss really stepped up with this, and this guy's awesome. No offense to Strymon. Strymon is obviously awesome at what they do, but you don't have to necessarily buy the biggest, best pedals out there to try and get that tone. Like, a lot of companies are stepping it up nowadays with just modern technology. Like, there's no excuse to have a crappy pedal at this point. From there into the DD20, which I also love, had that guy for years, and then into this Hall of Fame reverb that I love. I've pretty much exclusively got it on this mod reverb setting, which sounds really pretty. And then from there, the last thing in my chain, specifically for this tour, is this OCD, this full tone overdrive, and I'm literally just using that for this, like, crappy radio kind of effect that we have. So it's like at the very end of my chain, and the settings are, like, intentionally crappy to get this, like, nasty sound we use. This is my Vox AC 100 head. A friend of mine sold this to me years ago, and I love it. It is everything I've ever wanted in a head. It's got very super clean, pretty pristine clean tone. And for this tour, I think I'm only using the clean channel and just kind of riding my pedals for any gain and stuff like that. And then it's also got a super ballsy low-end overdrive channel. I went through so many different cabs trying to get the right sound out of it because there's such a huge difference between the low end on the overdrive channel and then the clean one is so like, it's so bright that it almost loses that like the thickness. It's a very pretty tone, but then you don't get the like, just the fullness. And so when we teamed up with Janice for our cabs that we have, I actually asked him to build, like I kind of told him what I wanted my sound to be and all the frustrations I'd had between different cabs and different speakers, just trying to get the right kind of low end, the right kind of balance between this head and the right cab. Got these Janice cabs, and this one has, I've got another one at home that's got my favorite speakers in it. David and I both have the same one that have vintage 30s Celestians, and that one I just plugged right into when I tested it at his shop, plugged my head right in, and it was the best sound. It's the best cab I've ever used. I'll swear by it, and especially that speaker combination with my head. This one has Celestian greenbacks in it, so it's a little bit darker than the vintage 30s, but still like awesome. Yeah, and we've been using Janice cabs for since 2014, I think. So, and it's a great company. He's obviously doing a lot bigger stuff now, so a lot of people using those. It's really cool to see Janice cabs taking off. Again, thanks for checking out my gear. Yeah, thanks to Fender and Janice cabs for hooking us up and stuff, and just to check out the Orphan the Poet and Antlerhead.